Become a member and support the channel. Old World Tactics, Battle Reports, the 2 Plus podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the 2 Plus podcast. It's Paddy here with Alex again, and today we're going to run through the Cathay release, the Grand Cathay release, which has been driving a lot of hype recently, as you could expect. First new army in the old world for 20 years, I believe, and there's some strong stuff in there, and people are kind of losing their minds at the moment. But Alex has been pouring water all over it in our little side chat, which has been, good to have some control in my life. But Alex, thanks for being here again. What's your hot take? Give me a 2-word answer.
Yeah, I didn't think I was that. I was trying to maybe mute some of it, but not. I think it's great. I think it's a great looking army. I think it's immediately playable, some of it.
Hold on, Alex. Can you put your microphone closer to your mouth? Because it's like... Yeah, that's better. If you like...
If it did, I think if you spent $1,000, you're at least going to get some games out of these. So that's the difference. Whereas some of the other stuff, armies, you might have thought you'll weigh in with one of the Elf journals recently, and then, what are you going to do with all those white lions? Really not a lot in the end. And I think, it feels to me, as someone who's sold games and played these for a long time, that this is what it is.
Do you think everyone losing their minds is justified, having seen the stats, seen the points, seen the costings, the stats? What do you think?
Yeah, I can see why people are upset, and I think you're going to give us some examples. I guess it strikes a chord with people who Warhammer, they have their army, and so if you're just one of those armies that's sort of mediocre at the moment, you're probably saying, well, hang on a minute, it's straight up better. But I do think this is just the way the game is, and it's something you have to accept about it. We try to balance things through events, but Games Workshop doesn't. They couldn't sell miniatures if they did it a different way. And yeah, Paddy, what do you think? You've sort of provided a lot of detail when it came out that I probably overlooked.
I have been riding this wave up and down for the last week or so. I'm still a little bit on the fence. I was trying to be conservative at the start, then I got well into it when the lantern dropped. And I was like, oh no, this is taking the piss now. But I've since cooled off a bit again, and what made me do that was building an actual list, which I'll share in a second. It does feel limited, doesn't feel like you have a lot of flexibility. There's some really great stuff in it, but if you start losing it, you'll feel that a lot more, which has kind of led us to the idea that they're the new elves of the old world, which we'll get into in a second. But just the stacking of special abilities, the strong magic, some good shooting, and just kind of like an aura of power, I suppose is one way to put it. But we'll get into that in a second. And before we do need to give our Patreons a shout out, because they're the guys that keep this running. So Ghost, Gomo, Catro, I'm going to make that up every week. We're going to say that differently. I'll give you Catro this week. Pandem Wargaming, Sick, and Silver Dave. Thank you, as always, for keeping the lights on over here. And if you are interested in helping out the channel, please check out the link in the description of this video. It does go a long way and helps us keep pumping out the content. So thank you guys, but let's get stuck into it. So as I said, we kind of had this idea that they're the new elves of the old world. You've been playing Warhammer for 25 years, off and on. What were elves like back in the day, and why do you reckon we got here?
Yeah, well, I'll give you credit for coming up with this, Paddy, but they're the elite troops, but they just seem better. It feels like the elves are on a slide in the lore of the old world. I certainly loved high elves because they were aloof and amazing with magic, or just like that glass cannon units, but they would break things and you would win game. You would see all those units be effective on the tabletop, but if they started dying, they died very easily. I think Wood Elves as well, pretty limp, the way they're put across. And I heard it written, I saw it written somewhere that they sort of turned elves into more grey rather than them being like elite or above other races, that they were like they could be good, they could be bad. They now hang out in taverns and like, sell their wares as mercenaries. And I don't like it one bit. And I think there's a vacuum in the old world with elite armies that aren't really sort of rules based, right? But actually in the lore that they come in and they're sort of like, yeah, their troops are heavily armored, highly skilled, but vulnerable, I suppose. Otherwise, the game wouldn't be balanced. And yeah, that's what I think. I think the Chinese, I just think it's funny because, yeah, all of the brouhaha over this sort of stuff online, like, it's been, everything is a rip-off in Warhammer. That's what makes it so good. It's just this generalized fantasy setting, and it's done everywhere, and that's why it's accessible to a lot of people. Like, of course they're Chinese, but it's not like everything's made fun of. Like, the Scandinavians are the Norskins. Like, they get gypped by this whole thing. So, yeah, I think it was a good take, and I think I hold to that as much. I think they're good. I think it's a really sound list. I'm just not buying into the hype because I think this is just the cycle that we go through.
Yeah, and as we both play, I play Wood Elves, you play High Elves. The old world vibe, as you said, is to kind of take the power out of it. They intentionally did that. The magic is meant to be weaker, stuff like that. But they kind of feel lame, elves, at the moment, and these guys feel sick. Like they have a certain something that goes a long way, but they do still have low toughness, except for the characters, I suppose. They have elite skills, and they do feel like the new control army. Abe from Bell of Lost Souls wrote a great article. I thought he kind of nailed it, in my opinion, is they have really strong pieces, but if you get to them, you'll probably win. I am not in the camp that Miao Ying is the best thing in the game. I think it'll be extremely hard to kill, but I don't know how good it is having two profiles because the dragon isn't as good as a ridden dragon. The level 4 is probably better than a level 4, but the whole idea of splitting between them just kind of, I think it's going to be difficult to play this army. I don't think it's just going to be point and shoot, even with all their special abilities.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing in the lore, just to top that off, is that it's not like the elves are weaker. They don't get weaker. Like, they're strong. It's the humans and all of them who don't really know what's going on at the time. I think it's just that move away from like Tolkien-esque elves into sort of GW elves, and they've certainly superseded it, not just in the stats, but I feel like in what I've read about Cathay, that they're sort of like, oh, we're really worried, so we've come to the Empire, and we wouldn't have otherwise. And the Celestial Dragon is a big deal in the background of the lore, very powerful as well. I agree that that's the way they'll probably play. Whether we needed an army like that, where you sort of just have to get to them like a gun line, people notoriously don't like playing against that. So we'll see what happens. Fortunately, the infantry and cavalry are pretty squishy in my mind. Have a lot of stats, but playing elves, that doesn't mean anything when you get ruby ringed a lot of the time. But yeah, that take you can see there. I just think, look, I have seen people who've already pre-ordered the whole thing, which is great. I don't know how long that's going to take to get to, especially Australia. I don't know how long it's going to take to then paint. And with the news now that that second Arcane Journal isn't introducing any other units, I really think it's going to be not a niche unit. I think it's going to be something people want to play, but I don't think it's going to be this like broken element that's going to come in straight away. As you say, the thing that makes dragons broken is when you can put something on top with a ward save. The things that are the best in Tournament Warhammer are sort of rules exceptions that play the game differently, not just the thing with the best stats in the book.
Yeah, and that second line down the bottom, as you just touched on, gonna wait for them to arrive, assemble them, paint them, learn how to play them. I don't think in Australia people will play more than one game against them unless your best friend has them before Christmas. And even then, like, it'll get figured out online, which is the other thing. They'll be online in a second in
Good point.
Warhol.
Yeah.
And to me, I would still having not played them yet, I'd still prefer to play against them than Tomb Kings, like meta Tomb Kings, meta Bretonia,
Yeah.
because at least it's new, at least it's fun. And there would be like that discovery period again. But I think in about a month, luckily this didn't come out before SBOT, because I think we would have seen it now, how to play them, how to beat them, the grossness of it. And even then, people don't do that stuff in real life. So the chat around playing 6 lanterns or something you can fit with the strategist as your general or whatever. I don't think like to do that you have to spend in Australia $1,200 on lanterns. It's just not going to happen. And you'll see in the list that I share in a little while what's likely going to come up against you, and I think it's beatable. That's just like one variant of what I think most people will have based on what's available. And the last point, which is arguably the most important one, is they look bloody great.
That's all right. And that's what
So
sells miniatures.
it does. Like imagine matching up against that. They look incredible. I think people will, because it's brand new and because they're like a statement army now, I think people are going to try really hard with the hobby element of this army. I don't think we're going to see Goblin Green Jade Warriors. I think it's so easy to make stuff good now, and people are at such a high standard now that even if you come up against it and it may be strong, it's going to be nice to look at.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking forward to it. I know the players who are picking up buying everything in the places that we play are not people who you're going to have a bad game against, for starters. But I just think this is what it is. We're on this tear where you have the Wood Elf Arcane Journal, you have the Beastman one. It felt like, I don't know, you might know, Paddy, but less than a month later. Then they say this is coming, and it does come. Like, if you think
Yeah.
back 6 months ago, when the Dwarf book was supposed to come, and everyone was like, oh, this is what it's going to be like. You know, they've rushed out Tomb Kings and Bretonia. They've sold all these models. Then now that we're going back to the old stuff, it's just going to be this drip feed where you wouldn't see things for a year back in the day. But it's the complete opposite. And I don't know how you couldn't be excited by it, because at the point, that I will make is that you're going to have, like, we're playing in quite a large area where there might be like 50 people playing regularly. 3 of those people might play Cathay, maybe 5. And then, like, they're going to get there. It's going to be great. You're going to want to play against it to start with. And then we'll see what happens. But very interesting how they're limited to just really those units. So if you want to show your list, it's pretty much all there is, when we were expecting until 2 days ago that there was going to be maybe peasants or other types of Cathay units that had existed in the past being tacked on to this.
Yeah. Well, as we just found out yesterday, so Monday or Sunday night, Australia time, this is all that's coming for the rest of this year. A new arcane journal that allows you to take Empire as mercenaries to fatten out a roster, which feels like just GW plugging a gap with a half a release to make it feel like a new army by using lore, which is fine. Most people have reacted really positively to that. I think it's a bit of a cop-out, but this is essentially what I think people are going to bring. You will very much struggle if you're going to bring Miao Ying to bring a terracotta sentinel or whatever they're called, the sentinel, and still get a Shigengan Lord and a BSB. Sure, you don't need a BSB, but 86 points for a BSB on a horse is pretty bloody good value, so you're probably going to bring it. 2 Cathayan Grand Cannons, you might want to substitute one of them for the rockets, but the Grand Cannon is incredible, so you're probably bringing 2 rather than building the rocket thing. I think everyone is bringing a lantern because it looks awesome and is very, very strong. Miao Ying's not available, but Prince will be aplenty. You'd think of a Asian-themed dragon riding guy. The Shigangan Lord, everyone will get. Jade Warriors, Jade Lancers, you get in the battalion box. But this is it. That's 150 points left over for magic items. I think that's a beatable list by a standard normal list. Like my Orcs and Goblins list, I wouldn't be like, oh great, this is impossible to beat, which I have felt before against certain meta armies.
I agree. My take initially was that it's between it's going to be Warriors of Chaos, and now that there isn't an expanded repertoire, I think that's where they'll sit. That they'll be strong, but they just aren't going to have that. I don't know what the broken element would be. I think the Sky Lantern is more just like undercosted rather than broken. The Grand Cannon firing twice is great. I love the Sentinels, but they're incredibly expensive for what they are. Miao Ying, I guess, has the most likelihood of being broken, like in the sense that you might not be able to kill it. But there's things in the metagame already like that. Like you might not be good against Ethereal, or you might not be able to stop healing in the undead armies. You might not be able to catch pegs ever with certain lists. So yeah, I think it's really great. I'm really looking forward to seeing the armies. If anything, I wish they were sooner rather than later. I don't know why in Australia we keep we get things later in 2025.
Yeah.
But you know, and I do love all the ideas like underneath this that like I have spoken on this channel many times about not being a huge fan of Games Workshop, but I can't pretend this isn't improving, whether it continues to improve or not. But from the way that they operated in a corporate sense decades ago, like they've had this stuff on ice for a long time. They've found a way to get it out. It's going to sell out for sure. I don't know what happens next after that. This is like a brave new world, really.
The point here I want to point out as well, I believe their core is below average. I don't think it's as good as even Wood Elf core, which I think is actually good as a Wood Elf player. But 20 Jade Warriors for 258 points, yes, they have drilled, but what do you want to use drilled for with a strength 3 guy? You're not going to do anything on the charge. I think they can get a strength buff from their magic, but you have to get that off. I think they can be improved weapon skill wise as well. Stubborn is really handy. I think that's great, but I think it was 40 more points you can get 20 Chaos Warriors who are just built in weapon skill 5, strength 4, toughness 4, AP 1, but they don't have the re-rolling 1 armor saves. I would take 20 Chaos Warriors any day of the week over 20 Jade Warriors, and people think Chaos Warriors are not good, which I still disagree with. Jade Lancers, I think, are okay, but I think Strength 4 on the charge is almost unplayable against a serious list. It doesn't do anything. Like Strength 4, AP 1, Cav Spears on your heavy hitting, on your heavy Cav is going to be disappointing for anyone who tries it. What I think is awesome about Jade Lancers is they can be ambushed. As you know, I love a good ambush. I don't know why these guys can be ambushed, which is all the frustration I have with this. Like, they're cheaper to ambush than Glade Riders, which to me, again, Wood Elves, sure, but how does that make sense in any, like, points costing? Yeah.
As you say, like we are in this era where Warhol will sort out that side of things, and in real life, and we'll probably talk about this in future videos, but you know, I could get 4 games a month, and I feel like I'm playing way more than a lot of people. You know, how many times am I going to play this? I can't wait. If the Godfather of the pod, the Oracle, sends off to get this, I can't wait. I don't care how good it is at this stage. If in a year's time, everyone's playing it, and I'm getting bashed to death by poorly played, you know, singular list like this, then okay. But I mean, that's where we're at with Brett's to TK Dragon list for a while, and it's still like the game's still been great underneath that. Like it's just at the highest levels a little bit static, I think. And yeah, I can't see that overturning that, but it might be able to compete with those sorts of lists.
One of the comparisons I wanted to do just while we're on Jade Warriors, everyone has been saying, man, they're just so much better than Empire State Troops, and they're like, you know, only 2 points more or whatever it is. But Empire State Troops are probably the worst infantry in the game. So yes, sure, Empire State Troops suck, but maybe Jade Warriors is kind of like they're the mean or the median, whatever the average is. I always forget. But for 2 extra points, you get 1 extra weapon skill, 1 extra leadership, heavy armor, re-roll ones of armor saves, and you can take a 50-point magic banner. You can give them drilled. You can give them stubborn. That makes them 11 points, I think, which starts getting expensive for a chunky unit of core toughness 3 guys, even with a 4-up armor save.
That's right.
So
And that's why their stat line sort of looks elven-like with the leadership 8 and the weapon skill 4 and the toughness 3. They still move 4, which sucks, even with drilled. But yeah, like comparing things to state troops, I mean, come on. It's like you got to find the median. And even then, this is how it's always been with Games Workshop. And it's incredible that they release the whole game at once anyway, and we aren't waiting for like Your Army to come out 2 years later, which is what we used to do. People would have a book from a previous edition, and it'd just be like, there's been whole editions of the game where one army was just seen out of the book as best, like demons or something, in recent editions. So I think it's just, yeah, like it's crazy, but we've pointed out these types of comparisons earlier. And I think I've said my favorite's the Griff and Hippogriff one, just because they're pretty much the same word, and the Bretonnian one's way better. Uh, you know, like it's just cheaper in their book, even though I think you get countercharge as well. So I can't pretend this isn't happening, Patty. It's like the
yeah,
NBA, the handshaking is happening. But yes, I don't know. I just think, let's see what happens when it's on the table. I'm a big believer in the game not just being played, but the talking about the game and all of that is also awesome. But the negativity is pretty extreme about it, or when we were all frothing for this to come out for
yeah,
6 months. So,
exactly. Before we wrap up, I do want to spotlight this one because this is the one I'm in agreement with, and I don't think it's broken. I only just realized before this recording that it doesn't have Swift Stride, which anything trying to get impact hits without Swift Stride, maybe you don't even care about the impact hits because you have 5 strength 6 AP2 36 range.
does that confirm that you get
You
five
get,
guns?
yeah. So it says in here the gunners and the commander are all armed with this thing.
That's
So
wild.
it is full on, and like that's why people are like, oh, but it has D3 plus 1 impact hits, and it's
I mean, yeah,
unbreakable.
if you've got
But like,
five
why are
strength
you?
six,
If it's
and
in
what the
combat,
ballistic skill four of them are ballistic skill four.
yeah. So it's hitting on that main
Oof.
one. The champion's hitting on 2s because it's
Yeah.
ballistic skill 5.
So
So it also has a million different upgrades that you can give it. And it has that thing that allows bombardment, so your rocket thing, or maybe your Empire mercenaries fire as if it had this unit's line of sight. And it also has some disengage where you can charge, and if you win, fall back in good order, which is cool. And then Heavenly Beacon is like re-roll every single bloody leadership test that when you're in this thing's range. So reserve move as well, you just get it. Unbreakable, why? Fire and flee, like how is it that nimble
seven
that it's
wins.
like fire and flee? You can't stand and shoot with or flee with the Sky Lantern gun, but it has a multi-shot one that's strength 3, AP 1, and then it just zips on off. But you compare that for one more point to a Black Orc Chariot, which our Discord, and if you're keen to join the Discord, jump in to the description. It's in
You
there.
should, yeah.
Come say hello. But we were talking about chariots and how this is just a spit in the face to chariots, because Paddy made the point that the Black Orc Chariot is essentially, and I agree, like it's about as good as chariots get in this game. It's 3-up armor save, toughness 5, d6 plus 1 impact hits, good enough guys on top, and this just shits it all over it. One more point, you get 5 good special rules, 3 extra wounds, -1 armor and less impact hits, but you get 5 strength 6, 36 range, AP2,
Yeah.
and a billion rules.
Razor God Chariot's pretty good like that, but they're not. This is insane. The Lantern for sure. My thing, I guess, like, yeah, if something's good, it's the Lantern or the special character in my mind. I'm hotter on the special character than you are, but I think the reserve move is one of the best moves in the game, especially when you have shooting, obviously. Um, yeah, why would you risk it? But I guess you've got ways to get away with that disengage thing. It's got the 7 wounds just kills me. But now knowing it also has like 6 shots, strength 6, that you're going to reserve move shoot. But it is what it is. Like this sort of thing, I think it is. I can't argue with it. It's crazy. Like what
Yeah.
you're getting.
This one, I think, is, yeah, the standout in the book. I think all the other stuff
Yeah,
is
so
good,
I do too.
but
I
I
think
don't
the other
think,
stuff is just good, but not or sound. Like the level 4 on the Longmar. I think that's good. Like I don't think it's bad, but I just don't think it's like the thing that's going to change the game. And I think the double shot on the cannon is amazing, but 160 points. Some armies don't get smashed by cannons as badly. But yeah, this thing, I can see why people are like, I'm just going to take 6. And if you've got no outs, it could be not a lot you can do. They just fly away. The magic people are sort of love and hate, but like my first read on the magic was it was just efficient. It wasn't like it was sort of like if you roll high, it's amazing, but if you rolled under, it was mediocre. So like you got that fireball that's like now the best magic missile, best fireball anyway. I like the new Wood Elf one as well, but I think yeah, it probably does get shot. But like the thing is, when you're usually taking those big poison blocks, sure you might take down the gigantic spawn, but really they're there to win the game by killing a dragon that is 500 points. You know, so if someone's taking 6 of these, you got to kill one every turn.
yeah. And that's 900 points.
And it seems people are talking about taking 6 of them, but Warhol will sort that out before we have to worry about dropping 100 quid on each one of them. So
Well, the final point, which, as you can gather, we both think this is a good thing for the game. No doubt about it in my mind. It's strong, but so what? There's some absolutely busted stuff in this game, and
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think this comes close. And I've played against some of the busted stuff, and I'd prefer to play against this.
It
It'll look
looks
great.
good.
Yeah,
Yep, distinctive, and that like is a huge part for me. Like if you turn up and you're playing a unique army, it's always enjoyable, even when you get creamed. And I think yeah, the lanterns they mesh well the army. It's just sad that they didn't increase the scope of it, and I wonder what that means for future releases. Are they going to release these like little pod armies, which would make sense to tell you the truth? I don't. I think we're sort of spoilt with like playing high elves. One of the problems with high elves I think Wood Elves are sort of maybe more playable across the board, but with High Elves, there's just so many units. Like some of them have got to be crap. Like they've got the same profile. One of them carries a great weapon, maybe gets Magic Res 1, the other one gets something different. And that, I think it's going to be a really nice army to look at, play, and hopefully, yeah, it's not like at tournaments where it's just like one of enters that realm of the, or, did Graveguard Death Star block or
yeah,
Bretonian pegs, 10 of them or something. Like that's the way it's sort of gone competitively, sadly.
yeah. We'll wrap it up there. I'm excited to see it. I'm sure Alex will be too in about 18 months' time when we get to play the first game against Grand Cathay. So,
If there are
everyone,
good prints and people know what they are, please put them in the Discord
yeah.
for us. I think the ones out there are pretty mediocre, but I would definitely I don't think it'd be a lot to print that army. So if there are really great prints, like a sort of Lost Kingdoms level standard, not your sort of rando My Mini Factory Mongol warriors, please let us know because I haven't been able to find any so far. I guess it's a little bit different to what we thought it was going to be, so I get people are probably hot on it, designing for it. But yeah, if you have any, please let us know.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, consider joining the Patreon. We will be back again for some more 2 Plus chats at another time. We'll see you then. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Patty.